Well, hi again everybody. Welcome to my channel and my 100th video that I've uploaded for public view. This video will actually cover a tool that I use. It's for backup purposes. You could actually consider this video related to security because backing your software up or backing your systems up is really a security function. So the one that I use is Acronis. So this is the commercial package that I bought myself. This video is not being sponsored by Acronis. I purchased it because it had good ratings, and since I've gotten it, I've been very happy with it. So I'm going to show you today all of the different things that I use it for and talk about some of the ones that I don't. In particular, an important feature that I want to talk about, which I find most useful, the ability to create a USB rescue. The USB rescue allows you to create a USB, and you can make as many of them as you want. And it comes in a couple of different flavors, as I'll explain. And then this can be used to do functions to the PC without the operating system running, which gives it a lot more power over the files that are there. So I'll be showing that in detail. Now, one thing some of you may cringe at, I bought the commercial package that includes a DVD. Now, I happen to use it, but doesn't mean you have to. You can download the software from Acronis, and then as long as you have the key, and the key is provided on the user manual, that key is all you need to activate the software. And it comes in different flavors as well, but I'm not going to get into marketing this stuff for Acronis. I want to show you how I use it, what I use it for, and what I think is most valuable. If you get something out of this video that you like or help you in any way, please consider subscribing to my channel. That would really be helpful. Okay, let's look at it now. I have Acronis actually on the desktop, the icon to start it. I've got to give it a administrator password, and Acronis True Image 2019 is starting. Okay, here's the main desktop for Acronis. This is the choice of all of the tools that are currently laid out. So before I show you anything else, let me show you what I have here in terms of these tools. Let me start with all tools. Now what that'll do is we click on that, it opens up a window that points to where these tools are stored on the hard drive. So right now they're in True Image Tools, and they're all listed here. And I'll go over these one by one. I just wanted to show you what that first icon was, the suitcase. Another way to do it is to go down to the Start menu, click on All Apps, and you will see there's an Acronis folder here. If I click on that, I see all the tools listed here as well. I do suggest that you go ahead and open up the user's guide. It is Acronis US, so I'll just click on that. And now it's loading in the user guide. I do suggest you open this up. It's quite large, 192 pages, so if you decide to print it out, just keep that in mind. But online works well most of the time. I like to make it a little bit bigger. And it has all the different sections to it. I won't walk through anything in particular, just to show you that this is here. And it's a fairly thorough manual that's worthwhile reading. And it shows all the different features and what they support, but I'm going to give you a quick overview right now. Let's start from the very top. Let's go to backup. Now, I have one backup out there of this workstation. I call it the DEN Engineering Workstation, and I only backed up drive C, even though it has a drive E. The drive E is sort of a content creation scratch drive. It's constantly changing too much to be backed up this way. So I just did the C so I could restore the entire main partition if something were to go wrong. What I did do is, when I did drive C, you get to pick the source, and I picked drive C. I could pick just individual subdirectories under drive C, or I could have decided to go and do drive E instead. And then I would see the area that I have here for my content creation. And I could pick them all. I could just click on this little box here and everything will be selected. Or I could pick individual ones if I would rather do that. So once you pick something, for example, let me go ahead and do that. Let me say I want to back up my drive E. Well, once I pick the source, now I got to go down here and say OK to that. Now you see it's just drive E that's being backed up, 463.7 gigabytes. It's a 1 terabyte drive there, and it's not quite half full. Now where do you want to go with it? Now I have the destination set to my network drive, LSNet and then the subdirectory Acronis, which is where I put all my backups right now. But I can always change that here if I clicked on this, and I could pick a different location. Let me go back here down at the bottom, and we could leave it at that. And then if I wanted to, I could now hit this little green button in the lower right and say backup now, just to show you how it was done. Now if I want to see the backups that have occurred, there's this button at the top center. I'm in the backups section right now. I can go to the activity section, and I could see that I have a backup that was successfully created at 7:28 p.m. If I want to go and recover from that, I could pick the recovery section. It now has to read the backup file, which will take a couple of minutes sometimes. And then it finally pops up. And this is everything that was backed up inside the actual backup file that was created when I did that backup. And I can select individual subdirectories. Let's say it's only one of these that I want to recover from. If I just wanted one that says Intel, I can click on that and just recover from that. But I believe, does that have subdirectories? No, it doesn't. Let me pick one that has subdirectories, program files. So if I pick that one, I could actually pick the subdirectories out of the program files directory if I choose. So you can be very specific on your recovery of the files. Now I don't have this thing set up to do these backups automatically. You got to be careful how you configure that, because you could wind up using up a lot of disk very quickly and not fully understand what has happened. So I only do it on an as-needed basis. The main reason I have this tool is to just have that option to back up certain things and then recover them, but I don't want it to be running continuously. Now let me show you some of these other options. That's the main backup one. Now when you create the backup, by the way, just to let you know, you can set certain options to the backup. So if I create options to it, I can decide if I want it scheduled or not. So right now I have this one set for scheduling. I really don't want that, so I'm going to turn off scheduling. But I could have it do continuous backup. I could have it do upon an event, like user login, monthly, weekly, daily. I created this backup earlier and it automatically picked daily for me, and I don't want that. So I'm going to say I do not want to schedule. You can also pick a scheme. Do you want it to be incremental, which is what this defaulted to? Now if you do incremental and the backup doesn't already exist, then what it will do is it will create a full backup. Now I can then change how it functions on that image. I could pick single version schemes. I'll leave it up to you to look at the manual for these. Version chain schemes. Those are unique to Acronis, special ways that they can create the backup for you. More commonly would be something like a differential scheme. An incremental only backs things up to the previous incremental backup, whereas differential backs up since the last full backup. So that assumes then that you're doing a full backup at one point, and then from that point forward you might want to do differential. Now there's a trade-off. As if you read the manual, you'll see this described. Incremental is the fastest backups on an ongoing basis because it only picks up those files that have changed since the last incremental. Differential takes a little bit longer since it goes all the way back to the last time the full backup was done. However, upon recovery, that's where you pay the price. Differential will be faster than an incremental, because with the incremental, it has to go back and look at all the incremental steps that it built into that backup file. Because all of that stuff is stored in the same file. It'll just either build it, with incremental or differential steps to it, in addition to the full backup, or not. And then you could have it do notifications on certain things. You can have it send you emails. You can exclude certain things from the backup. There are things you don't want to back up. You can use this screen to do that. And then there's an advanced screen where you can actually encrypt it and tie a password to it, which by default, it's none. I would have to pick an encryption scheme. And there are a couple to choose from once you actually have decided that that's what you want to do. I'm not going to do that right now. And then there are other functions with the backup. You can have it automatically validate after the backup, just to make sure it copied over right. Backup a reserve copy, a second copy of it in case the first copy get corrupted. And there are many other options here I won't even go into, but they get quite advanced with that. So I'm going to cancel this. I don't want to change any of that stuff. By the way, this little chart here, it shows you what the backup is composed of in terms of different things. It's pictures, videos, audio, documents, and so forth, system files, and other. And you can make as many different types of backups as you want. This one is only for my drive C. I could make, as I showed, one for drive E, I could make one for network drives, I could make whatever I have access to, which is the whole how I've configured a scheme of my security on my network. Now let me show you what Archive is. What Archive does, and I'm not going to demonstrate that, it allows you to clean up large files from your disk. You could use tools that come with Windows that automatically allow you to delete those files. It'll identify them and then you can delete them. That's a standard Windows 10 function. But this will allow you, before you delete it, to back it up. It's just a more advanced version of that feature to archive very large files. Maybe you have old videos that you have out there, but you want to save them. But you don't want them to eat up disk on your main fast storage, normally your drive C. Synchronize. You can use Acronis to synchronize to the cloud. Now, cloud is an optional component to Acronis that it comes with a certain amount of cloud space, and you could pay for more. I don't use the cloud. I am not comfortable with the security on it, but you may be more comfortable with doing that. And you could actually have set up a cloud, and if that's the case, you have to do it with a setup command first down in settings to create cloud space, and then you could come here and synchronize your local computer to what's on the cloud. I'm going to jump ahead of tools for a second and go to active protection. There is an active protection that automatically comes with Acronis. It's always running. I left it on by default. That's how it came up, and it's actually monitoring processes and memory and backups and anything that might change. It's almost like an antivirus program, and it does certain things automatically. It's sort of innocuous. Here's a list of what it has done for me. It has actually decided that a program called Win32 Disk Imager is a good file, so it what they call whitelisted it, so it will accept that as a good one. A couple of other ones it wasn't sure about, so it marked them as not being usable. Now, if I ever need those programs, I would have to go in here and unmark them as bad. I could also manage my processes that this is using. Now the account, well, this is where you can actually activate and buy more cloud space. You can also upgrade your true image. I have the version 2019. Now let me show on the screen here what the difference is between a 2019 and the 2020 version, which I have not upgraded to. It's not a lot. Backup tray notifications. It includes backups during a power nap if you have a Mac, and it has a customizable backup on battery settings. So if you're trying to back up a laptop while it's on battery only, you can customize what gets backed up and where, just to preserve power. And then finally, you can do protection from illicit service termination attacks. Well, that's just more enhancements to that built-in anti-malware. If you want to get full details of the differences going each year all the way back to 2016, you would click on this link here, and it will bring you to the Acronis website and show you all of the different features that the different versions have had over the years. And then finally, you have the settings here, and the settings are where you can do special things like, do you want it to automatically check for updates on startup? That was not checked. I checked it after installing it. Do you want to do something special with the mobile backup location? So if you have a mobile one, do you want that to go somewhere? Ideally, if that's the way you're going to use Acronis, you're going to have some cloud space for that, or you're going to have some network drives that are remotely accessible, which is like having your own cloud, which is not a simplistic thing to set up. It all depends on your router and your local network. And then you can have yourself volunteer to participate in the Acronis Customer Experience program. I'll let you click on that and figure that out, but I did not choose that. You can also have notifications go to a particular email. You would specify the email that you want that to go to. Let me go back to the tools. That's the important thing. Now, clone disk, I'm going to demonstrate that in a bit, but not on this computer. If you click on this little eye, it gives you a description of what the utility does for you. I've used clone several times. It is very, very powerful and very usable and does a fantastic job. So it's one of the main features that I like about it. The other one that I really like is this second one, which is creating rescue media. And it allows you to create a USB, bootable USB. So for example, let me do that right now. Let me go into Rescue Media Builder. Do I want simple or advanced? Now I like things advanced, so I'm going to click on that. If you pick advanced, you get a choice between what type of loader you want built onto the USB. By default, it put this WinPE. It's a small version of Windows itself, similar to the old DOS systems from many years ago. Or you can go to a Linux-based media, which I tend to default to. It is actually more stable and runs faster than any WinPE version of it. So I already have a USB stick in there. That's a scratch. So I'm going to pick the Linux-based media creation. And as you can see, it identified my USB drive as drive F. If I did not have a USB in there, this would have said load a USB stick. I could also go and create an ISO image, or I can create a CD. USB is the way it's done today. So I'll click on that, and then it's saying it's going to create a Linux-based one. It's going to take 613.3 megabytes. You can't have anything else on it, so pick the smallest USB stick you have. And if I now say format the selective media, so it'll format it first, then I say proceed. And now it's formatting first, and then it'll immediately load that 613.3 megabytes. Okay, coming to an end now, and now we have it. And we now have a bootable media, which I can put onto this computer or another. It doesn't matter what computer you use it. Even though I only have a one user license or one computer license, this utility USB, recovery USB as they call it, can be used on any computer. You've seen me use it before on some other videos, but I'm going to show you again now, and I'm going to actually show you a particular function that I think is very valuable to know how to do it. So I'm going to close this, go down here and do a safe eject. The light went off on it. I buy USB sticks that have a little LED so I can see activity. So now I've pulled it out, and I will be using that on another computer. I'm now going to go ahead and switch gears and connect up to another computer. Okay, let me boot from the USB. Starting Acronis on its true image, loading up. Again, that's Linux booting, that's why you see that printout. And we're up inside Acronis. I'm not going to go through it. It has all the same things you could do. Backups, you can do recoveries, you can check your logs. I'm going to go straight to the tools. And I want to do a clone disk. Now, as I said, I have installed in this PC an SSD drive that's approximately the same size as the hard drive that's in there. I'm going to have Acronis clone over the hard drive to the SSD drive. And if it all works out well, then I should be able to boot that from the SSD. I will actually disconnect the regular hard drive and try it and see what happens. So let me go ahead and do a clone. It'll do all copy partitions from one disk to another. That's an entire image copy of everything. Click on that. I'm going to let it do an automatic. I don't want to tell it one thing or the other because I want everything that's out there cloned over. So I'll just hit next. I basically want it to do all of disk 1. So that's the Western Digital 931 gig. And I want that to all go over to my new 476 gigabyte. That actually is the SSD. So I'm doing the source right now. I click on source, hit next. Doing some testing of it first. Now it wants a destination. It automatically jumped to that. I didn't do anything. The destination I want is the SSD. So now I'm going to say next. The destination hard disk you have chosen contains some partitions that could contain useful data. Click OK to confirm deletion. It's going to completely wipe out the destination drive. That's what I want it to do. So I'm going to say OK, do that. And then I can set options, but I'm just going to have it automatically do it. It's going to go from one to the other. It's going to copy only the 476 gigabytes over to that new drive. And I'm going to say proceed. And now it's doing a full clone of that drive. Okay, it looks like it's almost done. The time is not accurate as it gets down below 2 minutes. As I notice, it keeps bouncing back and forth between 1 minute and something down to just a few seconds. I could also have clicked these options to do a restart or a shutdown upon completion if I were to leave this unattended for some reason. And it's done. It says we're successfully cloned. So let me switch over to that. Power off the computer. Taking the USB stick out, the one that I had in there. Here's the SSD drive lying here, plugged in to the motherboard. I'm going to disconnect the other hard drive. I'll just go ahead and disconnect SATA data cable from the drive itself. So now it should default to this one, and then we'll power it on. Okay, let's power this guy back on and see what we get. I see a window, spinning wheel. Wow. came right back up again. This time we're on the solid state drive. Let me log in. Drives that are here. Let me go into disk management. And it shows healthy partition, everything associated with it. Shows 476.94 gigabytes. Could load in the USB that actually is allowed, that has all my tools on it. Let me put the USB stick in, and it sees it. Open up the USB, system test folder, come in here and run Crystal Disk Mark, 64-bit version of it, and it's set for drive C. So I'm going to hit all, test all. A regular hard drive at most, it'll be about 150 in terms of megabits per second. On these older machines, it's actually usually about 100. This computer is way old. Okay, so 242.8. Definitely the low end of SSD speed, but still a lot faster than what we had in there before. Okay, I think that takes care of this. Okay, that completes this video on how I use Acronis to protect my software. There's a lot of features in it, most of which I covered and a lot of which I use. If you're interested in backing your stuff up, which you should at least think about, Acronis is one of the things you could consider. There are other software that you could use, some freeware even. But again, this is a supported product and I've had good luck with it, so that's what I wanted to pass along. Once again, if you got something out of this video that you found useful or valuable in any way, please consider subscribing to my channel. It would really be helpful. And if you did like this video as well, just in general, give me one of those little likes or dislikes. I want to know how that's going. So if you had a problem with what I'm saying here, let me know. And that's easiest to do in the comments below. And I try my best to answer all comments, whether they're questions or just general comments. I read them all and I do my best to answer them as best I can. So take care until the next time, and thanks for watching.